Paris 1795. Revolution's blood still stains cobblestones. As a young widow emerges from the guillotine's shadow, she is Josephine de Beauharnais, terror survivor. Her husband's head lost to Robespierre's madness, months before salvation arrived. In flickering Parisian salons, she moves with calculated grace, using charm as weapon where survival depends on connections. But tonight, she meets a man whose obsession will reshape Europe and ultimately destroy them both. He is Napoleon Bonaparte, a rising military star, 6 years younger, whose hunger for power matches his desperate need. What begins as strategic alliance becomes history's most destructive love affair, consuming empires before ending in heartbreak. This is Napoleon's obsession, how one woman is survival, and an emperor is desperate love, created and destroyed Europe, his greatest empire. The future empress was born Marie-Rose Tasha on Martinique in 1763, raised among sugar plantations and slaves. Her Creole origins forever marked her as exotic in French society, her accent both captivating and scandalous to aristocrats. At 16, she was shipped to France for arranged marriage to Alexandre de Beauharnais, promising Parisian society entry. But Alexandre proved cruel and unfaithful, abandoning his young wife for mistresses while she struggled to adapt to culture. The marriage produced children Eugène and Hortense, but little happiness as Alexandre's infidelities became public humiliation for his bride. When revolution erupted in 1789, Alexandre embraced republican ideals, while Josephine watched in terror as her world collapsed. Paris streets ran red with aristocratic blood as guillotines claimed thousands of nobles, including many from her circle. Alexandre's political activities caught up during terror, when paranoia and bloodlust reached their peak in revolutionary France. He was arrested on treason charges, dragged to prison while Josephine watched, knowing her noble connections made her vulnerable. On July 23, 1794, Alexandre de Beauharnais was guillotined in Place de la Révolution, his head joining thousands. Josephine herself was imprisoned in Camp's prison, awaiting almost certain execution as terror's machinery ground toward her cell. For weeks she lived with tumbril sounds rolling past her window, carrying aristocrats to death while she waited. But fate intervened days before her execution, when Robespierre himself fell to guillotine, ending terror and saving her. She emerged from prison changed, beautiful, vulnerable, and aware that survival required new strategies and powerful protectors. The widow turned to Parisian salons, using exotic beauty and wisdom to navigate post-terror society's treacherous waters. In these glittering gatherings, she first encountered Napoleon Bonaparte, a young Corsican general whose star was rising. Napoleon was immediately captivated by this sophisticated widow who embodied everything he lacked: aristocratic grace and connections. She represented legitimacy and respectability to a man whose Corsican origins marked him as outsider in French society. For Josephine, Napoleon offered equally valuable protection, wealth, and possibility of restored status through his growing reputation. Their courtship was intense and unequal, with Napoleon writing passionate letters, while she remained coolly calculating about responses. "I wake filled with you," he wrote from military campaigns, his obsession evident in every fevered correspondence line. She delayed answering letters for days, understanding that his desperation increased with her apparent indifference to passionate declarations. On March 9, 1796, they married in hastily arranged civil ceremony. Both lying about ages to narrow the gap, Napoleon immediately left for Italian campaign, writing hundreds of letters begging her to join, while she remained in Paris. His letters from Italy reveal a man consumed by jealousy, constantly suspecting infidelity while promising her conquest and glory. "I will return to Paris in 15 days. I can hardly wait," he wrote, unaware she was being unfaithful. Josephine had begun an affair with Hippolyte Charles, young cavalry officer, while Napoleon conquered Italy, and wrote desperate letters. When Napoleon discovered her betrayal, his rage was volcanic, but obsession proved stronger than wounded pride as he forgave. She learned to manipulate his emotions expertly, alternating coldness with warmth to keep him constantly off balance and pursuing. As Napoleon's victories mounted, so did Josephine's status, transforming her from revolutionary widow to France's celebrated general's wife. She accompanied him to Egypt, where victories turned to disasters, but letters home continued their obsessive love declarations. The coup of 18 Brumaire in 1799 brought Napoleon to power as first consul, with Josephine now France's unofficial lady. She redecorated Malmaison Palace with exquisite taste, creating court rivaling Versailles while hosting the new regime's important figures. Napoleon's rise to emperor in 1804 meant Josephine would be crowned empress, ultimate validation of her survival strategies since terror. The coronation at Notre Dame was her greatest triumph, as she knelt before Pope while Napoleon placed crown personally. But even at power's height, their marriage's fundamental problem remained unsolved. She had not given him heir. Napoleon's need for son to secure dynasty grew urgent with each year as Josephine aged beyond childbearing. Her inability to produce heir became weapon enemies used, whispering that barren empress endangered France's future stability. She tried desperately to conceive, consulting doctors and mystics, while Napoleon's frustration grew. An eye wandered to younger women. The emperor's affair with Marie Walewska, produced son Josephine, could never give, proving his fertility while highlighting her failure. Political pressure, mounted from advisors who argued imperial succession, required young wife from European royalty, not aging widow. Josephine fought desperately to save marriage, using every emotional manipulation she had perfected over years together to maintain devotion. She had scenes of hysteric weeping, threatened suicide, and deployed shared memories to remind him of passionate early years. But Napoleon's political needs ultimately overwhelmed personal feelings, as empire required legitimacy through dynastic marriage with European royalty. The divorce proceedings in December 1809 were public drama, as both read statements of mutual devotion while legally ending. "I have only happiness to express concerning attachment and tenderness of my well-beloved wife," Napoleon declared through tears. Josephine responded with equal emotion, stating she found her greatest glory in emperor's affection and would never cease loving. She retreated to Malmaison, where she continued holding court, maintaining imperial dignity, while Napoleon married Marie-Louise of Austria. The Austrian marriage produced heir Napoleon desperately wanted, but those close noted he never spoke of Marie-Louise with passion. During exile to Elba, Napoleon's thoughts constantly returned to Josephine, and he planned to see her upon return. But fate intervened cruelly. Josephine died suddenly in May 1814, just as Napoleon was escaping Elba for campaign. When told of her death, Napoleon wept openly, declaring she had been love of his life, despite tumultuous marriage. He visited her tomb at Malmaison after return, picking violets from her garden that he carried to St. Helena. On his deathbed, Napoleon's last words were reportedly, "France, army, head of army, Josephine," placing her among final thoughts. Josephine's children from first marriage became central figures in Napoleon's extended family, with Eugene serving loyally as viceroy. Her daughter Hortense married Napoleon's brother Louis, becoming Queen of Holland and mother to future Napoleon III. Ensuring bloodline, the palaces she decorated and fashion she influenced continued shaping European taste long after both had passed into legend. Her collection of art and plants at Malmaison created cultural legacy that survived political upheavals of Napoleon's rise. Modern historians debate whether Josephine truly loved Napoleon or used him for protection, but correspondence suggests complex emotions. She had learned to survive by understanding men's weaknesses and exploiting them, skills serving her in navigating Napoleon's personality. Yet witnesses noted genuine grief at divorce and real affection in private moments, suggesting relationship transcended political calculation. Napoleon's obsession with Josephine revealed human side of man who conquered Europe but could never fully possess her. Her story demonstrates how women in revolutionary France used intelligence, charm, and manipulation to survive in destructive worlds. She transformed from colonial plantation girl to revolutionary survivor to imperial empress, adapting to each role with remarkable resilience. The great love affair between Napoleon and Josephine created empire, crowned empress, and ultimately contributed to both dreams' downfall. Their passionate, destructive relationship became template for countless romantic legends about love transcending political necessity and surviving imperial divorce. In the end, Napoleon's obsession proved both his greatest weakness and most human quality, showing even emperors could be slaves. She remains one of history's most fascinating figures. Survivor, empress, and woman who taught emperor that some things cannot be conquered. Their story serves as eternal reminder that behind every great historical drama lie human hearts capable of transcendent love and betrayal. The rise and fall of Josephine de Beauharnais proves that in power's game, survival sometimes requires sacrificing everything you fought.